let me put it to you this way. If what I have in mind takes place over the next couple of years, 2 to 5, 10 years, we're going to create a business model for bodybuilders to make the kind of money they've never made before. They've never made before. But in order for that to happen, we got to kind of be able to have our own contest. Like, let's just say if we were to run Mr. Olympia, you just kind of threw this out there and kind of my mind automatically went there. If we were running Mr. Olympia, what I would do to the Mr. Olympia brand, and I know this sounds a little bit too confident to say what I would do, the plans we would put in place for Mr. Olympia, bodybuilders would be sitting there saying, finally somebody flipping did it, that you gave us a platform to make money, to be appreciated, to be in movies, to have our message be out there, to be able to get sponsorships, to be able to live in a place where we're making the kind of, to be able to have our identity change instead of just seeing a bunch of muscleheads, somebody's showing how brilliant and intelligent we are, to be able to realize how technical this is. You're almost like a scientist to become a bodybuilder. It would change the game, because I think bodybuilding is a business model that can really, everybody in the world looks and admires a nice six-pack. Everybody in the world likes one of these. When a guy flexes, as Dylan sees a muscle, I said, Dylan, touch Phil's biceps. He touches Phil's biceps. Dylan's like, oh my gosh, it's so thick. Dylan says, it's like, I want muscles like that, right? Watch what we're going to do to the bodybuilding world in the next couple of years. Hey, if bodybuilders, if you're listening up, just think about it. If you had full support, management, somebody that's getting you out there, getting you exposure, helping you make money, creating content for you, giving you millions on top of millions of views, having you to get new opportunities. I don't know. I'm going to stop right there. It's just if that ever came across.
So, in your opinion, what is broken in the bodybuilding world that Pat, even like a businessman, a capitalist who's never professionally competed, says I can come in and do something better, which is sort of the story of capitalism. What is it that's broken right now? What needs to be fixed?
Direct connection, meaning like, what am I going to get for what you were just saying? These men and women, I mean, they put a lot of time, a lot of effort. And if we were to really write it down, how much money and time that they put into their physique, they'd be so in the red, the black, that people would say, well, how are we going to sell this? You must really love this shit because you're not making money from this. The biggest thing I think is the lack of opportunity for athletes to sit at the table. And I think a lot of times, the athletes like myself, for instance, when the magazines were going on, I think there was a lot more opportunity because, you're getting eyeballs on you through the magazines. When the digital age came, there was really no sit down with all the top athletes and saying, like, this is a platform that we're going to make for you to make money. Because a lot of you people didn't go to college. You didn't have, these conversations. We were just focusing on, training and dieting because that's freaking hard. But right now I
nail dieting personally.
I think we're at a great point in time where we can have this conversation. But I think in order for us to,
when it comes on to diet,
I think we just need more dialogue of saying, like, look, you're only making like for instance, I went to a show last weekend. I think one of the girls, she placed like third in a figure competition. She only made like $500.
$500? How much did she have to invest to even get to that point?
Easily $20,000 in a year.
Bro.
Easily.
So it's a horrible business model.
Easily. So, like, what is her motivation? What is her motivation when she comes home?
Bro, she made more than that on OnlyFans, dude.
Right.
That's a problem.
And that's a problem. So, I mean, I think it's really important that we look at this and say, look, like, I need to invest money in these people so then they can actually do better. These are people that have amazing stories. These are people that have amazing triumphant stories, and they actually personal train people. They train people through ebooks and all this other. They're very influential, but it's really hard to keep them motivated and keep them locked in for the long period of time when they're not getting paid. I mean, one of the girls that did the Miss Olympia physique competition, Shanique Grant, very young, bright star. She won the Olympia a couple of times. If she was getting paid more money, she wouldn't have retired. Now, I understand she wanted to have a family and stuff like that. God bless her. Good luck with that. But I guarantee you, if she had a couple zeros extra, she might say, you know what? I'll have this kid, but I'm coming right back.
You know what confuses me the most? Here's the following thing that confuses me the most, okay? Here's what's confusing the most. A lot of people take shots at UFC. It's like UFC this, UFC that. Dana White this, Dana White that. Would you say Dana White takes care of his number one guys? Like, does
my God, yeah.
do his number ones make money?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the number one. He's not making money. How the hell is he not making money? And I'm talking like he should make $5-10 million a year to be able to get the other guys to say, I want to be him.
Yeah.
How the hell does that even happen?
Yeah.
You got 16 different people in the history of Mr. Olympia that have won Mr. Olympia. 16. The last 3 years has been one person that's won it 1-1-1. Anytime Mr. Olympia is winning one at a time, there is no legacy. There is no excitement. Do you want to see like a stretch, like, oh my gosh, I want to go see Yates, I want to go see Heath, I want to see Ronnie, I want to see Arnold, I want to see Haney, I want to see Cutler 4X, like, damn, look at Cutler, right? When 2-1-2, it's like, dude, look at this stuff, right? When he's coming.
Right.
I want to see that. How do number ones, why is it so many guys that are number ones from Mr. Olympia? How come they don't have money? I don't get that. So the whole thing where they say Dana treats his athletes like he owns them, Mr. Olympia treat their athletes like they own them, and it's purely, now this is me, this is not his position, this is my position. He disagrees with me, and he'll say he'll defend the brand because the brand has changed his life in a many ways. This is me saying this. This is not his position. Anybody from Mr. Olympia that's watching this, PBD is saying this. He's not saying this. But I see it, and I talk to a lot of the guys who are bodybuilders, who are winners, and I say, how do they treat you? I've never heard anybody say they treat me royally. How the hell is that possible? Everybody's like walking on eggshells. Pay the damn number one guy. What are you doing?
And how many interviews have you done with the top
Dude,
bodybuilders?
we have the
More?
most views on bodybuilding ever on all of it, and I've only done like 10 of them. I stopped doing them eventually. I'm like, I'm done with this. But I tell you, if the right ownership ran Mr. Olympia, look what would happen to those bodybuilders.
They need a Dana White type, is what you're saying?
They need Teddy Moscow, bro. Pay that man.
It's
Pay
a
that
person
man.
who understands what. You have to go out there and address all the criticism. I wouldn't be running it in the way I would run the model is a very different way than I run my insurance company. It's a very different way. It would be I don't even want to. I don't want to give the IDs away. Why would I give the IDs away?
I'll tell you one major thing.
Not going to do it.
I'll tell you one
Got
major
heated
thing.
up.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Athlete just needs to be asked one question: what do you want?
That's it. Notebook,
I think
baby.
I feel like that's like the notebook right there. What do you want?
I think if someone said, "What do you want, Phil?" and just sat back and listened.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of athletes are conditioned to not even like know what to ask because they haven't been asked those questions. I think at the end of the day, you want, like, for instance, I never won an Arnold Classic Columbus, Ohio trophy, right?
Yeah.
I did the Arnold Classic in Europe. So one of the promoters was like, Phil, you got to do this show. You got to do this show for me. For you. Okay. You going to pay me to show up? He was like, what? I said, when Tiger Woods goes to the PGA,
Phil Heath,
when Tiger Woods goes to one of these invitationals, because this is an invitational, you pay for his flight, his hotel, his everything. You give him a signing fee. What are you going to do for me? And you know what he says?
There won't be any money.
Is it all about the money, Phil? I said, that's funny because you flew here on private, and I'm flying here on business. You flew here on private to Australia. Are you nuts? So the lack of recruitment is what I'm saying. Like, I cannot stand that shit. You should say whatever you want. Because at the end of the day, if I say, I want one of those cars right there, I want that Mercedes, and you say, here, drive mine for the day, and I'll get you one next week. You don't think that I'm going to train my ass off even more and more and more and more and more? So I think, if they don't offer anything, if they don't dangle a carrot, in addition to the trophy, you're not going to get the athletes to stay motivated, and you're not going to. And when I say this, I say this with all sincerity. You're going to have bodybuilders that are going to focus more on being influencers than competitors.
We don't need that. We don't need more influencers.
We want the best.
We need less influencers.
I want to see the best on stage be focused just on the show. Yeah. Because that's what I did.
So what's the carrot right now? Just a trophy?
Yeah.
Cover of a magazine, maybe?
There's no covers of magazines, so therefore, the average bodybuilder is having to rely on sponsorship because the shows don't pay enough. Now, I definitely feel like the shows could, I just feel like, for the Olympia, I think there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen. I think for the Arnold Classic, there needs to be a lot of conversation, and at the end of the day, all they have to do is just sit us down. If someone wanted me to do one of the shows, right? Have they called? When I said last time, I said my phone's on. You think anyone called? They didn't, because sometimes they don't want power to the player. But I think what happened with UFC when Conor McGregor raised all hell, called Dana White out and all this other stuff and said, you know, I'll go back to England. I'll be nobody again. You don't think they had a conversation? They not only had a conversation, they probably asked him what he wanted. And if he didn't know, he's like, well, I have an idea for you. We'll get you your own liquor or this and that and the other. Next thing you know, you're doing that, you're doing this, you're doing that. Now he's walking around with that strut, you know, doing his thing.
That's actually what happened with Habib as well. When Habib wanted to retire, Dana White said, well, hold on, let's have a conversation.
Whoa. David. Nice
That's
dropping,
David right
bro.
there. There he goes.
Nice dropping, David.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
But I think,
you were talking trash about the producer.
but how
bad,
much,
David.
but how
I got
much
the
money did
producers
they
back.
make, right?
Hey, okay.
Now,
Right?
listen, rule of thumb of business, take care of your number ones, and they don't take care of their number ones. Listen, the way I judge you, you judge a man by the way he treats his wife, who's a good wife. You judge a woman by the way she treats her husband, who's a good husband, who does his part, who does her part. You judge a parent by the way they treat you. Judge who's a kid that's doing his part. You judge kids based on how they take care of their mom and dad who did their part. I'm not going to judge a kid whose mom or dad is a deadbeat. I'm not going to sit there and tell, but if a dad is doing their part, listen, man, you better take care of this guy. You know what he did for you? You know what you judge a great business based on how they treat their superstars. Not stars. Yes, stars, but superstars. NBA takes care of LeBron James.
Yeah.
As much
100%.
as I disagree, it's their job.
Yep.
MLB takes care of this new guy who is the
Shohei
first-time
Ohtani.
all-star both
amazing.
sides. They take care of the Mike Trout. They take care of these guys.
Ichiban.
And why not?
Mr. Olympia is, by
What's
way,
the downside?
I'm telling you, it's the only sport that I see that they don't take care of the number one.
It's
I'm
not
so
a good
confused.
look.
It's
The
not.
last
So-
thing you want is one of the greatest sportsmen ever in your sport to even remotely be talking trash about your sport. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I mean,
No,
maybe
I
you are.
want,
I'm doing that. He's
I
not
want,
doing that. I'm
but,
doing that.
but I'm telling you what I am saying is I want all athletes, men, women, all categories to be able to say, I'm a pro and I make a pretty good living.
Yeah.
All pros. If you're top 10 in the world at anything, I think you should still be able
Because
to.
won't that motivate the number 15,
absolutely.
20,
Bro,
100
new
person
leadership
out there?
team.
Let me be the next Phil Heath, not the person that's...
Anyways, let's
The most
transition
I ever,
after this.
the most I ever made in the minor leagues, most I ever made was $2,000 a month, and that was what 10 years ago.
And you were hitting dingers.
I could hit a little bit. The Baltimore freaking Orioles, their Double-A team. Most of those guys are a back spasm away from the big leagues. They didn't put them up in housing. These guys are still making $1,900, and they defaulted on the team housing. These guys were sleeping in their cars to play minor league baseball. You understand what I'm saying?
But
and now people don't want college athletes to get paid. People don't want in baseball. Just to go back to what we were saying, if you don't get drafted out of high school, or if you decide to go to college, you're not eligible for 3 years. Same NFL rule. Then whatever team drafts you, which by the way, don't even get me started on the draft. The draft is the most evil thing in the world on all sports. We make a spectacle out of it. The draft is evil. It's an evil thing in every sport that you don't get to choose who you play for, and your entire brand is dependent on being picked by somebody that knows what to do with you in your career. We call these guys busts. These guys aren't busts. They're victims, most of them. But that's a
And
whole,
by the
whole
way,
different thing.
and that's why the Baltimore Orioles, the last time they won a World Series was '83.
3 years of college, okay? 5 years in the minors before you're a free agent. 8 years before you have any autonomy over your career. Imagine you coming out in any other industry. In any other industry, you want to be a financial advisor, you want to be a computer engineer, and Microsoft says, nah, you got to come work for us, and this is what you have to make, and you don't get to decide anything about it for 5 years. And if you have a problem with it, well, there's somebody that wants to be a computer engineer. Show your gratitude. Be grateful. And then they wonder why these guys milk every single penny. Fans want them to get their guys to give them a hometown discount. Sorry, bruh. Every single dollar. Whoever wants me, I get. The entire game is getting to the second contract, and then that's that. That's that, man. If you get to the second contract, it's the same thing with guys who would do whatever they had to do, guys who juiced, and everybody was like, these guys are cheaters. I never felt bad about those guys even once. Matter of fact, I was like, you know what, good for them. I didn't have the balls to do it. I was afraid that if I got caught juicing, they'd go back to all my college stats, and they'd be like, this guy's been juicing since college. All those records, that's garbage. Player of the year, garbage. It's all been, and so I never did it because I was worried about legacy instead of worried about getting that contract.
By the way, that's another conversation that I would address that conversation front and center. Legalize juicing. Listen, and let me explain to what I mean by legalize. Not because it's legal already anyways. It's not people want to get their hands on it. They're going to be able to get their hands on it. But if you're talking about legalizing, the whole libertarian argument, you want to use it, use it. You think it makes you better? Like Chad Nichols said it best. He said, look, I can use everything and anything out there. I'm still not going to win Mr. Olympia. Okay, some people think just because you take stuff, you're going to go out there and win. Yeah. You think just because you take steroids, you're going to be able to hit 74 bombers? I dare you to do it. Go do it. Go be Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds is pretty good.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. Go see if you can pull it off.
You're basically saying do what you want with your body, no matter what, whatever
the point I'm trying to make, it doesn't necessarily help in all sports. You know, in some sports, if you don't do it, you're going to destroy yourself. In football, like you don't think LeBron's using GH? You seriously look at that physique and you don't think he's using GH?
There, Patrick.
Wait a minute, though. Do you actually think a guy at that level who's saying I spend $1.5 million taking care of my body every year, you don't think he is using stuff
do I think a 265-pound man who somehow has gained muscle mass over 20 years while he runs 5 miles a night and has a receding hairline is taking steroids?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Why do you got to go after his hairline, bro? Let's stick to the facts here.
But here's the point. By the way, the point I'm trying to make to you is my argument today, a lot of people are looking to say, did Pat just say legalize steroids? Bro, prohibition, marijuana. What else you want to go with? Okay, gambling casinos was illegal. People said there's no way. You know what's going to be attracted to casinos? You ever been to Vegas? All this stuff that you're talking about. It's let the man make a choice. If it makes you better and you got the competitive advantage, but if I can use it and you can use it, hey, it's legal. But if I can't, no problem.
Right now it's just incentivizing people that are willing to break the rules.
And that's the part. Like Sammy said something. You want to take the guns away from good people? I will always have guns. He says, Sammy, the Bull Gravano, will always have a gun. Take it away from us. I'll always have it. I want to transition to Carlos Mencia.
I think what you're saying is let the man choose.
Choice.
What are your thoughts on it, though? Real quick.
Look at his physique. Oh, you talking like he's straight up on GH and everything. I mean,
that's what I do, bro. That's what I do. I just think people should be able to, hey!
We gave him a flashback from the Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
like
we better touch on the Boy Scouts.
I know it's important
because I know he was touched.
Hey, so if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.